This is a beautiful time of year where the sunrises and sunsets are simply marvelous. The woods are quiet. The air is crisp. It is a great time to be outside. So welcome back to my channel, as today I'm going to take you along as we make maple syrup from our sap. As the sap is collecting, it is now time to get my whole setup together for boiling maple syrup. I have to first start with the foundation, where I use bricks to hold up my boiler setup. I didn't realize, but my bricks were actually frozen in the ground, so I had to come up with plan B. I first thought if I used the blowtorch, I could melt the ice and pull them out. You'll see here that didn't really work. Then I thought if I just had some leverage with a crowbar, maybe I could pry them out. That also did not work. Thankfully, I had other bricks at another place in the yard, so I could still use these bricks to get the boiler up off of the ground. I put my boiler on the sidewalk here because it's easy to see from my house and keep an eye on while I'm getting stuff done inside. But it's also safe being on the concrete. It's not going to ruin my grass too much. And it gives it a good foundation to be solid and not blow over. Next, I'm getting a load of wood to keep by the boiler. I already collected a box of kindling in the fall when everything was dry, and I'll pull that out to start my fire. This entire wood pile is from one tree. We had a pine tree out front that died or was dying and looked terrible, so we had it cut down. And because you can't burn pine wood inside, it's not safe because of the silt that builds up. This is perfect for burning outside for boiling sap. Now at this point I forgot to get on video me bringing the boiler and setting it up on the bricks, but that's already done, and now I'm attaching the chimney. Now this long chimney, if you're thinking why such a long chimney, actually this long chimney helps pull the air through and create an updraft, so it's more beneficial than having a short chimney. There are two reasons I'm adding these bricks into the bottom of my boiler. The first is it raises my wood higher so that my flame is closer to the bottom of the pan to get a faster and hotter boil. The other reason is it does help hold heat. And I guess there's a third reason, is to help airflow go back up into the back of the chimney. I have bigger bricks in the back to help kind of direct the air up and into the back, and it works quite well, I think. Once I have all my supplies gathered, it is time to start boiling sap. So we'll start the fire, and once that's roaring, we're gonna put the pans on and add the sap. I like to filter my sap when I add it to my pans because the bucket can get little bugs and flecks of dirt while sitting around or when collecting sap. So I do this to try to get as much out as I can from the beginning. Once I've emptied the buckets that I'm using, I need to return to the next tree to collect the next bucket of sap. So let's see how much we've collected from this tree. There's probably 2.5 to 3 gallons of sap in here, and that's pretty good from one tree with 2 taps right at the beginning of the season. At this point, it's a waiting game, and I just do this process over and over. I add sap to the pans. As it boils down, I will move from the front pan to the back pan, and then put new sap in the front pan and let it boil down, and I'll repeat till I'm out of sap and it gets a nice dark color. While we wait for it to boil, I have time to collect eggs and get other things done around the house. But it just takes time to get up to a boil, and then I have to keep adding wood to maintain that boil. A foam does start to build up as it boils, and I just scoop it off with my spoon and dump it in the grass and feed the soil. At this point, if you're still watching with me and you're thinking, wow, this takes a long time, that's a lot of work. It's true, and this is just a video over one day's process. For 3 or 4 weeks while it's maple sugar season, about 2 to 3 days a week, I devote to boiling sap and making maple syrup. Once the sap gets very low, I'm down to 1 pan and I have no more to add to it, and it's turning that nice caramel color. It's time to take it inside and finish it off. And at this point, I will filter it and then bring it inside in a big pot. To finish it off, meaning boil it down to it becomes syrup and is thick enough to pour on yummy pancakes, I'm going to put the pot on high and bring it to a boil, but I also need to sterilize my jars. And then I'm going to watch the boiling sap and check for when it gets to 219 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I've been playing with this, and I will probably on my next boils go higher because my syrup is still too runny for me, but this is my goal right now. You'll notice that as you boil inside, there's a lot of moisture that collects, and if you don't wipe it down off your cupboards, it will drip back into your pot, and to me, that's really gross. Once the syrup reaches the temperature, I turn the heat off and then sterilize my jars, and then now it's time for the final filtering. I did read that if you let your syrup cool down to 185 degrees Fahrenheit and then filter it, that you will then have less of the sugar sand in the bottom. However, I do not have the fancy filter, so I don't know if using cheesecloth and a mesh nut bag is enough to filter that sugar sand out anyway, but I'm going to try it on my next filter. Now, to can my syrup, the jar with the canning lid, once it's full and the lid is screwed on tight, I set it on its side for 10 to 15 minutes to get the lid hot, and then I will set it upright, and as it cools, the lid should seal and pop, and that makes it good for storage for the year. And there's the final product. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.